Years ago, living in Marin County in Mill Valley, pretty much every day I'd take a hike partway up the mountain, Mount Tamalpais, the mountain that you see from San Francisco, that beautiful pointy mountain to the north. So one day I decided I was going to hike the whole thing, which I had done a few times. So up the mountain I went early in the morning, and I wrote this poem about it afterwards. This poem owes itself to some other sources. One is The Ascent of Mount Carmel by John of the Cross, who was a 16th century Spanish mystic and priest. And he used the image of climbing the mountain in the north of Israel as the imagery for the spiritual path. And he marked the path on a diagram he made of the mountain. He marked this path with these words: not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. Letting go of everything, so that he could get to the top of the mountain and be one with the divine, shedding all that was in the way of that relationship and that unity. Famous in the history of Christian mysticism. Another source for this poem was from the circumambulation of Mount Tamalpais. There's a group of Buddhist hippies that would do this every so often. Allen Ginsberg and Gary Snyder and other Buddhist poet hippie guys did this. And Gary Snyder memorialized this circumambulation in a wonderful poem years ago. And as they would make stops along the way, going around the mountain and up, Ginsberg would bang on his tambourine drum and chant Buddhist chants. And another source is just this story that we find in the Bible that over and over references to the ascent of Mount Zion, right? Zion is the hill, the name of the hill, on which Jerusalem is built. And a good number of the psalms that we have in the Hebrew Scriptures are called songs of ascent, A-S-C-E-N-T. And songs of ascent were the songs that people sang, the poetry that they put to music as they climbed up Mount Zion to go to the temple for the rituals there. And this wonderful passage that Carla read from Isaiah references the journey to up the mountain, the holy mountain of Zion. And this is a journey made by people from all over the world around the Mediterranean at the time. We think of the Jewish temple as being for Jews, and the innermost parts of it definitely were only for Jews. But Jerusalem welcomed, and the temple welcomed, partway into it, pilgrims from all over the place. And we see stories about this in the New Testament. The Ethiopian eunuch who showed up in Jerusalem for Passover, not a Jew, but one of the many people who would show up there for the high holy days. So the Jewish religion was popular. It had a lot of attraction to people who were not Jewish. And Mount Zion was a place where all people from all the nations could come and climb the mountain and go through the symbolic inner journey that went with it. Not just the physical journey, but the spiritual journey. So, this is my poem, or prose poem, you might say, punctuated by passages from John of the Cross and the ascent of Mount Carmel. 5 pools, Cascade Canyon. Teenage nymphs dip their toes into bubbling water in the stone bowls that hold the creek's oblation, squealing as they goad each other from the summer heat into the cold water. Effulgence of sun on dusty air between the redwoods, bark glowing deep brown red in the light. Nada, nada, nada. To reach all, grasp at nothing. Not the beauty of the flesh, not the bliss of imagination, not the stimulation of the senses. Myrtle grade. Profusely, sweat breaks out. A fast scramble up a cliff of loose clay, gripping the no trespassing sign at the top of the trail to make the last few steps onto the dirt road. Above, turkey vultures float in wide gyres over Cascade Canyon, away from their perches high in the tall pines. Nada, nada, nada. To experience all, claim nothing. Not possessions, not pride, not happiness. Tree fort below the double bow knot. Hands sticky with pitch. A grand view sitting on the perch of weathered plywood over 2x4s nailed to the top of a fir tree on the ridgeline. The turkey vultures are circling specks below. Nada, nada, nada. To enjoy all, hold on to nothing. Not achievement, not glory, not honor. Falls at Fern Canyon. Water drapes over stones, glides under stones, tumbles around stones, leaps over stones. The trail, a carpet of dried leaves. A stone stair. Redwoods yield to dense chaparral. The sky seems nearer. Nada, nada, nada. To delight in all, be stuck at nothing. Not natural gifts, not human gifts, not gifts of heaven. The tavern pump. Wooden stair rises through a thicket of manzanita. Lizard darts under blackened, twisted roots. Calves burn with exertion. Behind, an ocean gleams gold under a soft haze of fog. Nada, nada, nada. To exult in all, expect nothing. Not insight, not wisdom, not revelation. East Peak. Boulders worn smooth by feet and hands. Scrub oak frames views of Diablo, the bay, the city, the dimpled shores of the reservoirs to the north. Classical music emanates from the lookout tower. Taking long drafts of bottled water while leaning back on a sun-soaked rock. To arrive at being all, desire to be nothing. On the Pacific Crest Trail through the Sierra, there are a couple spots where the trail intersects with roads that are accessible by vehicles, and these spots have trading posts or rest stops for the hikers who make this incredible journey from Mexico all the way up to Canada, many of them. And it is a place where the hikers pick up supplies to keep going, but it's also a place where the hikers drop off stuff that they realize they don't need. The farther you go on the trail, the more you figure out what it is you absolutely need and absolutely do not need. And that stuff is gathered in piles at these stops. And if you'd like, now if there's something in the pile that you would like and need, you can take it, yeah. But I am told that it's a net loss. In other words, more stuff accumulates at these stops than is taken by the hikers that follow them. Anybody who travels in wilderness figures this out. What can I drop? What can I let go of? The migrants who cross from Mexico into the United States, not many of them doing that anymore in the same way that they did in years past. But those who did quickly figured out that they needed to shed anything that weighed them down, that they didn't need. And so on these trails, which I walked every year with students, I take students to experience this and put water on the trails. On these trails, we'd find belongings left by those who shed them as they came deeper and deeper into the country. This is the what Christian mystics call the via negativa. Getting to something positive on the negative path of letting go, dropping things that get in the way. The way we meet God is by shedding everything that gets in the way of divine love. One of the songs of ascent is this one, Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. He who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time and forevermore. A song of ascent. You lift up your eyes to the hills. And what happens for us, for all of us here, living in this beautiful valley surrounded by hills, which thank God now we can see, because 40 years ago we couldn't see them, right? That was before governmental regulations that cleaned up the air so that we can now lift our eyes up to the hills. Wow, great. And what do we feel when we lift our eyes unto the hills? What do you feel? Just close your eyes and imagine and remember what you feel. And we don't have to hike or climb those mountains physically in order to ascend. Yes? To ascend them. We can ascend them with our eyes, with our vision of those hills as we lift up our eyes to them. And imagine ourselves letting go, lightening our load so that we can climb higher in spirit to the tops of the seamy hills, the rocky peaks, so that we can know and feel that the Lord is keeping our coming and our going. Living in Ojai, another place where one can lift up one's eyes to the hills every day, all the time. And I wrote this little poem about looking at the Topa Topa cliff. The beautiful cliff that turns orange and pink every evening. It's called the pink moment. And people in Ojai, including us, at the pink moment we come out and we bow down to the to the cliff. A religious experience. So this is about Topa Topa. Great power moves in the silent austerity of a distant mountaintop cliff, glowing above fanned skirts of fallen rock. Shelf of stone above all, the throne that is one with the king. You look at the hills, you look at the mountains, you go, God lives up there. You just know it. You know it. And God lives up there in our souls when we lift up our eyes to the hills and climb, whether physically or metaphorically, letting go of all that gets in the way and all that slows us down on the path. This labyrinth given to us is the Chartres Cathedral labyrinth, as I think many of us know. And it's a representation of the ascent of Mount Zion, right? It represents the climbing. And of course, it goes back and forth, right? The path has switchbacks, like the theme of the song that I wrote for this week. It has switchbacks that go up the mountain, back and forth to get higher and higher. And with each switchback, we let go of whatever it is that gets in the way of divine love. Because at the top of this mountain, we will meet God. Amen.